Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining, everybody. And man, it is always exciting when we can get together here and talk about our latest collaboration and barrel pick. Today's video is going to be all about Old Line. And we recently had the pleasure of collaborating with Big Vic, who set this one up, with Drifting Drams, Dusty Dan, and Hello Again, whiskey friends. And this is a cask strength American single malt finished in Madeira casks. And it's 7 years old, 125.4 proof. Now, as of recording, there are about 40 of these bottles left. So if anything I'm talking about here does interest you, go to the link in the description, check out our private Facebook page or join our Patreon. You'll find the links over there, and that'll give you the password as well so you can log in and see if you'd like one of these. Retails at $65. But beyond going through the tasting notes of the barrel itself, let's talk a bit about Old Line too. So if this isn't a brand that you're familiar with, by the end of this video, you'll know a bit more. So thank you for joining today, whiskey friends. Let's kick off the show. So if you aren't familiar with Old Line overall, they are a brand coming out of Baltimore, Maryland. And that is thus the inspiration of the name as well, honoring Maryland, whose nickname is the Old Line State, dating back to the Revolutionary War. I always find it interesting where people are pulling their brand names from. The brand was started by two Navy aviators, details of which you can also see in the branding. So zooming in on the bottle here, notice you have the plane jumping out of the water. Now, Old Line has been on my personal radar dating back a few years, where they hosted a booth over at the Sagamore Farms for Jason C. and Scott's original meetup called Summerfest. And as part of the agreement of having that in Maryland, they were only allowed to bring Maryland distillers, and thus Old Line had a tent there. And I knew nothing about them prior to that, but I tried every single sample they had, and I bought a cask strength from that tent that day. Later that day, we went to Barflies, which is a restaurant over there in the same area. They had a single barrel pick as well, and I tried that at the bar. And then I raved and raved and raved about this bottle on the channel all throughout the year there. Now, Old Line is very transparent on the back of the bottles, and it does explicitly say distilled in Ohio when it comes to their American single malt. So most likely the whiskey of it in and of itself is coming from Middle West spirits and then aging and being finished over there in Maryland. To date, I haven't had the opportunity to try anything actually distilled by Old Line, nor do I know if that is their plan. But sourcing or not, this is some great and unique American single malt. And probably, for me personally, my favorite American single malt currently being released in the US. And if you are curious about Old Line, you can always go to their website here. They can actually ship stuff to you through Big Thirst. They go in about 40 of 50 states. So some states they can't hit. But you can go on here, get their cask strength American single malt, some of their finished products. So we're going to talk about the Madeira cask strength in a moment, but they also have a sherry, a port, cognac, stout finished. They're doing a whole bunch of interesting finishes. And then as I continue to scroll down here, you can see some of their special releases. They also got rum. So they get in a Caribbean rum. We actually helped with the barrel pick on that earlier in the year. Their rum is amazing, especially when they finish it in their American single malt casks. So getting into the barrel pick in and of itself, and I'm going to pour a little bit out here so that it has a chance to open up. But getting into kind of the inspiration and the background of this one before I get into the tasting notes, doing something with Old Line was bucket list for 2025. And I was particularly interested in doing something wine finished in 2025 as well. So this is hitting both of those in one bottle. And as mentioned prior, Big Vic did set this one up and collaborated with Drifting Drams, Dusty Dan, and Hello Again, whiskey friends. So if you're part of any of those groups, you can get access to the link. And again, as of recording, there were 40 of those left. So go into the description, either our private Facebook group or join the free tier on Patreon, and you'll be able to get access to these things too. And if this does sell out quickly, you still know on Old Line's website that they have stuff available there as well. And they do a cool thing where they give you free shipping on 3 bottles or more. Now, as mentioned, they are very transparent when it comes to the level of detail on the back of the bottle. So we can see here we are dealing with 100% malted barley with a combination of 2 different varietals there, column and copper pot still. This entered the barrel at 120, spent 4 years in a number 4 char new oak barrel. And then from there, it was transferred for 3 years into a Madeira cask, bottled in August of 2025. And we selected this back around June of 2025. So got to spend a little bit more time in the barrel since we picked it. Now, Vic set up this selection process to do it at a meetup in California. Darrell was over there for his birthday. So a whole bunch of people got to say in which cask came home. Now, for me, I wasn't able to go to California. And whenever someone gives me a barrel pick to choose from and they give me the 4 samples that I can spend as much time with as I can, oh, do I analyze the crap out of those and do I get nerdy about it? And what excited me about this one was when I narrowed in on this being my favorite barrel of the group, I not only know that I like it better than the other samples that were provided to me, but I could then go around the basement and I could even compare it to what to date has been my favorite Old Line single barrel. And when it's a brand that I'm very excited about and I can do all these comparisons in my house, it lets me know even further where I can rank that sample and that barrel that we're going to be selecting. And I liked that Madeira cask better than my favorite on the original Barfly. So it's high praise, and it means a lot for me to say it. Just honored sometimes to have the chance to select the great whiskeys that these distilleries and brands send us. So we'll wrap up here going through the tasting notes of this particular bottle. I will say for this one, if you have this, it does reward with a little air, especially getting past that neck pour. But it's really, really blossomed, just a few ounces in here. So we're going to go through the nose, the palate, into the finish, talk about this flavor profile. And hopefully by the end of it, inspires you to check out more from Old Line. Cheers, everybody. Let's get into this thing. Gosh, on the nose here, it is quite dark leaning. In general, that can be some of the profile of Old Line in and of itself, where there is typically this dark chocolate or cocoa powder at the very center of any of the tasting notes that you're going to come up with. But having those 3 extra years in that Madeira cask really brought out some excellent, excellent fruit flavors here. Lots of dark leaning fruits, primarily makes me think of plums or even dried dates. Though the longer I sit with it, there is some brightness that starts to shine through, as if that American single malt underneath it is kind of finding its path beyond just the Madeira and the finishing. Those fruits are surrounded by a lovely dark chocolate, which again is that DNA of Old Line in general. And I also get a little bit of tobacco on this one too. I can't wait to experience this one with a cigar. But yeah, for the most part, I do think the dried fruits are probably the main event here. Let's go in on the taste. Cheers, everybody. Up front, I mean, the mouthfeel on this thing is near impeccable. I mean, you can just kind of see what it does to a glass there and just how oily it is in general. And you feel all of that throughout the experience and into the finish. I'd say amongst all the barrel picks and the barrel picking process, that is the characteristic I probably just demand the most, is that mouthfeel. It seems like so much falls in line if you just find that right mouthfeel. You know, initially gives you that flavor that matches the nose with the dried fruits and the chocolate. You even get a little bit of a more explicit oak there too. And then in that transition to mid palate, a whole lot of interesting things happen. It does brighten up a bit. I think that single malt really starts shining through and the sweetness comes through a bit more as well, coming through with a bit of like a maple syrup, and even then getting into more like dried cherries, even into an orange, which is a tasting note that OH talked to us about in a text message. And I wasn't getting that at first. And then the other night, I had this like epiphany moment where bam, all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, oh, that's the orange. I found it. And then by the time you reach the finish, it darkens back up again, goes with that oak, with that chocolate. Really, really some malty goodness here too, like malted milk balls kind of malt. And that is then balanced out again by all of these fruit flavors that then brighten up on the finish. So as you're going through this, if you really pay attention to it, it does have these waves where it starts out dark, it brightens up, it gets dark again, it brightens up again for the finish. Absolutely love that. So another fun pick for the groups overall. And reason to go back to old line. Maybe we can try a sherry finish, a cognac finish. Keep this going. Love to do another old line in 2026. So let me know what you think in the comments. Have you had a chance to try this barrel yet? What did you think? What do you think about old line overall? But help get the word out there and help inspire people to take a chance on a brand that they may not have tried before. And just remember, while you can always find more whiskey, you can never have enough whiskey friends. So take care of those around you, and we'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for watching. Hello again, whiskey friends, everybody. A big shout out to our amazing Patreon community. If it wasn't for you, we couldn't continue to produce the content and barrel picks week after week. And for everybody else out there, be sure to hit that like and subscribe. It really helps the channel more than you know. And we'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.